Hay personas que no salen de la cabeza de Donald Trump, y una de estas personas es la congresista Jasmine Crockett, quien por cierto ha sido la voz número uno para denunciar toda la administración corrupta de Donald Trump. Por supuesto que también ha denunciado su criminalidad y ahora está denunciando su estado de salud, el cual los medios de comunicación tradicionales se niegan a mostrar. Pero Jasmine Crockett se quiere asegurar de que lo hagan, incluyendo esto a Fox, mismo que discutió lo que Jasmine Crockett tuvo que decir. Pero antes de entrar en el colapso que tuvo Fox por lo que dijo Jasmine Crockett, quiero que escuches lo que ella dijo.
Let's say you were elected to ranking member and the Democrats take the House and you become chair of that committee. Would you pursue impeachment?
I would absolutely at least do an inquiry. Absolutely. I mean, I think that there's more than enough to inquire about. You know, we know, well, we don't know. We still don't even know. I brought up Elon Musk a little bit earlier. We don't understand what all they were doing, what kind of deals were even made for Elon to be given this amount of privilege. The firing of the inspectors generals, you know, he went in, next thing you know, inspector generals that were investigating Elon, they're getting fired. And then the pressure that he's put on various organizations. We saw that the merger with Verizon was able to take place only once they said no diversity, equity, or inclusion. We know that they have put a ridiculous amount of pressure and seemingly are trying to pull back resources from the likes of Harvard because Harvard decided that they were going to push back against his illegality. We know that he's shaken down so many of these law firms for free legal fees because he's going to need them, because the one thing that we know is that he likes to violate the law, whether it's criminal or civil. So these things need to be fleshed out, and we need to fully understand. And in fact, that's the Trump stuff. And the reason I bring up the Trump stuff is because there is one committee in the Congress that has the authority to actually do oversight over the president. It's the Oversight Committee. It is the only one that has that ability. And so I think that we need to make sure that we do it. I think that no matter what happens, history needs to know the truth.
Two last questions here. You said recently it's time for Republicans to start talking more about President Trump's mental acuity. And obviously they did that when President Biden was in office. Why do you think that they should do that now?
Well, listen, and I'll tell you, I mean, I'll go down defending Joe. I can't tell you that I've ever had an incident where I questioned Joe Biden's mental acuity, and definitely had no questions about the people that he surrounded himself with, that's for sure. Yeah. Now, when you are at a West Point graduation and you spend time talking about trophy wives, when you spend time talking about how you've been investigated to the likes of a Al Capone, when you like spend your time like literally in a very serious solemn moment that should be one of solemnness, but also of celebration for people that have decided that they are going to commit themselves, and some of them may even end up losing their lives in service of our freedoms in this country. And this is what you decide to do while wearing a MAGA hat. Like, I don't know how you can look at that. I don't know how you can look at, and maybe he's just illiterate, because, you know, there also was the issue with him reading a teleprompter recently, and he could not say the words that were on the teleprompter as it relates to crypto. So I'm like, I just think that we really, really, really need to wonder. This is the guy that would go off about sharks and whales and windmills and all the things. I mean, seriously, if it was me as just a member of Congress, I wouldn't be anywhere near being a U.S. representative. So how he's become the president of the United States is still beyond me, and how he continues to operate in this very ridiculous fashion. I mean, all you got to do is read the script, sir. Just read. And I know that stuff isn't on the script, right? And he can't even do that.
Jasmine Crockett tiene razón. Es muy claro y evidente que Donald Trump tiene problemas. Está más errático que nunca. Literalmente arrastra las palabras, cosa que antes nunca hacía. Sus publicaciones cada día tienen menos sentido. Está llegando a un punto tan crítico que incluso los medios tradicionales están comenzando a hablar de esto. Los mismos medios tradicionales que siempre se han enfocado en hablar bien de Donald. Y no porque haga las cosas bien, sino porque estos medios han sido o comprados o amenazados. Y esto incluye al medio de propaganda Fox, medio que evidentemente es comprado por Donald Trump. Y por supuesto, ellos estaban cubriendo lo que dijo Jasmine Crockett en vez de cubrir las verdaderas noticias. Pero lo que dijeron al final del clip que estoy a punto de mostrarte, estoy seguro que te va a hacer reír. Y realmente te vas a acordar de esto, así que mira el clip.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. Republicans were in the wilderness after President Obama won, and so-called experts shared free advice, which was worth exactly what we paid for it. And now Democrats are in the slough of defeat. If Jasmine Crockett is a thought leader of the party, Democrats will stay in the wilderness longer than Moses did.
I mean, he literally sounds like someone who is broken out of the insane asylum. Like, he just be all over the place. Like, get him some ADHD medicine, if nothing else, because I don't know where he's ever going to go. It is time for Republicans to start calling him out and start questioning his mental acuity and whether or not he is equipped to serve mentally. We know when it comes down to his criminality, he is not qualified to serve. But this is just absolutely deplorable.
You know, it's hard to know where to start with Ms. Crockett. She mocked the governor of Texas for being paralyzed. She conflates attention deficit disorder with insanity, which is both cruel and medically stupid. What she's really saying is that a majority of her fellow citizens voted for someone who's insane. So what does that make us?
Realmente Donald Trump está en declive. Este hombre evidentemente perdió el control. Pero el problema es que entre más pierde el control, más es su sed de poder. Donald Trump es el encargado de dirigir la economía estadounidense. ¿Y qué creen? Esa es la razón por que la economía está en declive. Y todo por culpa de la guerra comercial más tonta del mundo. Incluso gran parte de su partido lo odia, no lo soporta. Este hombre errático, al que no se le debería de permitir seguir siendo el presidente de Estados Unidos, cada día afecta más a todo el mundo. Por eso me alegra que esta congresista Jasmine Crockett esté denunciando todo lo que él hace. Denunciando su deterioro cognitivo, denunciando su gran y hermoso proyecto de ley, el cual ella misma destruyó dentro de esta entrevista. Mira el clip.
You spent the week hearing from constituents. What kind of questions do they have about this? This is the first time you've talked to them, I presume, since it's passed.
You know, I think that it's always important that we go home and we talk to the people that are going to be impacted and find out what it is that they know and find out what it is that concerns them the most. The number one question I had is, do people understand why this bill is bad and why there is nothing beautiful in it? And I can tell you that Texas 30, God bless them, because they listen to real news and they absolutely understand that these cuts are devastating and there is no good reason for the cuts. So that's number one. Number two, you know, I think that the Republican Party has tried to run away from Elon Musk for sure. But Elon Musk still looms. And so there were definitely still questions about the things that Doge did, because honestly, now we're talking about cuts to SNAP. Now we're talking about cuts to Medicaid. And so people are trying to kind of figure out, well, was this Doge? What's happening? What is Doge doing? And so I had to actually go through and explain that Doge really was supposed to be advisory. That is all it ever was supposed to do. I had to go ahead and reassert that it is Congress that has the power of the purse, and that Congress should have been listening to recommendations and then making a final decision. But ultimately, Doge was going in and doing all kinds of random stuff, things that we still don't know the full extent of what it is that they've done.
Without Congress at all.
Without Congress.
And your constituents were asking about this, asking about Doge.
They were asking about Elon, which Elon is synonymous for Doge.
Sure.
And then, you know, they were concerned about their Social Security. So they said, are the Social Security cuts in this as well? And I said, no. But I did explain to them that they are trying to choke off resources in a lot of different ways. So while it may not be on the balance sheet, when you start to shut down Social Security offices, when you start to get rid of the personnel, you end up in this bottleneck where people cannot access the resources that they need. And so this is a better way of saying, oh, this is just inefficient government, instead of saying that we directly targeted Social Security. It's some more indirect targeting that they are doing on things such as Social Security, as well as Veterans Affairs.
The Republican spending bill also, it increases property tax deductions, which is helpful to Texas. It also eliminates taxes from tips and overtime. That's a benefit for your constituents as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you can say that. Not really. I mean, here's the reality. There are so many of our workers that work on tips that literally are not making ends meet to the extent that they even are required to pay a hefty portion as it relates to income taxes in the first place. That's number one. Number two, if you were talking about an impact that was somewhat proportional, then yeah, maybe I would agree with you. But if you're going to get rid of tax on tips, a lot of people that work on tips don't necessarily even have health care, right? And so now it's like, well, you know what? I do need those extra dollars that I'm going to have in my pocket, because guess what? The cost of my health care is going up. Guess what? The cost of all the goods around me are going up because of the horrible, or some would say horrific, tariff policies that have been implemented. Like, it's not really giving you anything, because we're taking more away from you than we're giving you. So it's just a gimmick so that hopefully they can build upon a group of people that is beyond just the billionaires. They need to bring somebody else in to believe that this bill is going to help them as well.
What do you expect the bill to look like, though, when it leaves the Senate? Do you think it'll resemble what the House passed?
No, I don't. I think
what won't make
that,
it?
So here's the deal. When you look at House members, our districts are approximately 766,000 people. And depending on your district, you may not have one hospital in it. But when you start talking about, say, the Senate side, especially some of our senators that are coming from these big, very rural states, they understand a lot better than somebody who say, I'm going to vote this way because I don't want to be on Trump's bad side, versus that senator who says, you know what, this means we're going to have less hospitals. I'm going to have X amount of hospitals in my state that are going to shut down because of a lack of resources. Or it's the senators that understand that more people in rural America use SNAP benefits than urban America. And they're saying, listen, these people aren't going to be able to eat. But more importantly, because I'm from this big rural state, my farmers, they're not going to be able to survive either. Because just because you remove $330 billion from the ecosystem, which is the amount that they pulled out for SNAP, it doesn't mean that that money comes back in. So if you're that farmer that is trying to anticipate and plant, you know what, now there's going to be this money that's out. It doesn't just reappear because we removed it from the federal government. So now you're talking about the farmers that are going to struggle. So I think that the senators, because their constituency is an entire state and they have to deal with all the issues, I know that the Senate is going to give us something different. Now,
Estados Unidos necesita más congresistas como Jasmine Crockett. Hace las cosas muy bien, dice las cosas claras y no tiene miedo de expresarse. Porque créanme, muchos congresistas piensan igual que ella. Pero el problema es que todos están siendo amenazados, todos tienen miedo de perder el trabajo, todos tienen miedo de lo que puede pasar ahí fuera. Porque recordemos que Donald Trump no solo es el presidente de Estados Unidos, sino que Donald Trump es el presidente más corrupto que ha tenido Estados Unidos. Y es capaz de hacer lo que sea con tal de que él siga al poder. Así que evidentemente muchos tienen miedo por su trabajo, su familia, y ustedes entenderán el porqué. Como lo he dicho en varios videos, recuerden ahorrar dinero, ya que puede que Estados Unidos entre en una recesión económica y si esto llega a pasar va a afectar directamente a tu bolsillo. Te preguntarás por qué, porque durante una recesión económica, por lo general los empleadores despiden empleados o simplemente reducen el sueldo. Así que si tú trabajas para alguien, lo más probable es que dejes de ganar tanto dinero o simplemente ya no ganes. Así que te recomiendo que ahorres dinero por si acaso, ya que si esto llega a pasar, me lo vas a agradecer. Antes de irme te quiero hacer una pregunta que siempre hago al final de mis videos. Cada día la cambio y esta pregunta la hago para saber quiénes llegaron hasta aquí. Te quiero preguntar algo que se me hace muy interesante, que lo he visto en varios comentarios. ¿Consideras que Kamala Harris fue una buena decisión demócrata o pudo haber entrado alguien mejor? Es una pregunta que te hago porque ha generado bastante discusión dentro de los comentarios. Mismos demócratas dicen que gracias a que Kamala Harris fue electa, fue que el partido demócrata perdió, y otros dicen lo contrario. Así que quedo atento a tu respuesta. Te además de decirlo, pero si te gusta el contenido de política estadounidense y te gusta estar informado, te va a encantar suscribirte al canal, ya que subo videos todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.